Good morning.
Good morning.
How is everybody? How is Chicago today?
That's a possibility. Chance of rain. Thank you, Mark.
Yep. I sent it your way.
Thank you, Mark.
Everything comes through here,
Bill,
ends up in Chicago at some time.
Bill,
Goes from west to east.
Did you put your finger in an electric socket this morning? Your hair is all crazy.
Of course. Well, at least I got here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mine will probably look like yours if I grew it out. But yes, you're right.
Oh
You
my
got me
goodness.
there. Touche.
He did. Wow, that's a zinger right off the bat. That's awesome.
Right. There we go.
Yeah, good job, Bill.
That was awesome. Shut it. All right. Mark, you want to lead us
Okay.
off?
Yep, let's get rolling. Yesterday, all major indices rose. Okay, as we saw. Today we're a little changed. You can see on the board here. Oh, we got jobless claims, I think, out today. They're still worried a little bit about tariffs and such. Tariffs on copper, I think yesterday was going to go up to 50%. So we're still playing the tariff game. I saw where Microsoft had a story out that they saved over 500 million in their call centers alone due to AI. And on the other
Holy
side,
cow.
they slashed over 15,000 jobs in Microsoft using AI. Interesting, you know. So it'll be interesting to see how jobless claims and how unemployment rate, seems to be going down, but we keep seeing these pretty large layoffs at some of these large companies. But that's the way it goes.
Mark,
But
I think that was white collar cuts.
yeah, it was. Yeah, engineers too. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Well, they say
definitely.
one engineer with AI could do the job of four now.
Yeah, and I think it's the same. The story went on. It's on my office. The story went on, talked about how it's same going on at Meta and Alphabet and all that too. They're cutting these guys because AI can just do everything now.
Yep.
In fact, I cut my staff because of AI. Oh wait, I'm my only staff. It's crap. I just fired myself. Okay.
Actually,
That's how you can
Damn it.
afford that boat.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's your boat, Bob. I'm just a boat squatter. That's all I
I
am
don't
is a
have a
boat.
boat up. I don't have a boat up in Missouri.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go take a look at where we're at. On the list. Uh, we got a strange group this morning. You guys are a little lively. That's good. Uh, so on the swing trade watch list, I really only have like four left on it. It's Thursday. I don't really like to add towards the weekend, but Textron's still on it. We're up about 2.65. And Jacobs, we got in a little later this week, up 1.65. Pure Storage, we're up about 3.95. And then Arista Networks, almost 5%. Okay, the ones in gray we have on the list, but wouldn't have entered a position because we didn't have an opportunity to enter a position. But you can still see where we were from the time we put it on the list, where it would be. So, down a little bit. I like to wait a little bit. Again, for the week or for the last couple of weeks on this list, we've done pretty well. You got 13%, 10%, 18%, 22%. Have one it stopped out at 2%. This one stopped out. The intermediate resistance level came on and it hit it, so got out at 1.32% lower. Okay, so you don't always have winners, but you always on the low side. Make sure you stop out at the percentage you want to stop out under the 200 list. We only have like three left. This Bath and Body Works is still in there at 16.5%. Vesco is still in there about 8%. And then we've got EPAM Systems that we put on later in this week. We talked about it's up about 1%. And then HP and Thermo Scientific didn't even hit where I would have bought them at. So they're just kind of sitting there. So we didn't really enter into that position. Let's go take a look at some charts. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Put this one up. Get rolling. Seems like Friday to me. Does it seem like Friday to anyone else?
Yeah. I wish it was.
Yeah, you and me both. I got to run some concerts this weekend, outdoor concerts Friday and Saturday, so it's going to be busy for me. Okay,
I'm dragging today.
I am too. I don't know why. Maybe it's just well, it's been in the 90s here, with high humidity, so I think that drags me down too. SPY. Again, we've had a roll up, and then the last 4 days just kind of sideways. We've got resistance above. We're going to open up just about a little bit higher than we were. See the nines coming up again towards that resistance level, and we've seen what happens. A little bit of roll on the oscillators on SPY. The Dow Jones, same kind of situation come up. We're playing right along support or resistance, I should say. The nines rolling up again. We see that pattern. It rolls up, kind of parallels it for a little while and comes back down. And we're starting to see that in the oscillators. If you look down here at the MACD, at the histogram, you can see each and every day that the signal line is getting closer, or the MACD line is getting closer to the signal line each and every day. So we kind of had this upward run, and now we're kind of rolling back down. So we'll see. Today's, like I said, sideways. On the Qs, this looks a lot like what we're going to see in the Mag 7s, and this looks like the S&P came up. You've got resistance. We're going to open up right about resistance, and again sideways pattern. We got the 9 moving up. Got a little bit of a roll down here on the MACD. Consolidation again. We'll see if it can get snapped to the top from some kind of news or catalyst. You do have sell orders, above it. There's always on these indices, because of the large volumes that funds and everybody have, you'll see a lot of this where you have sell orders above resistance. And that's currently at 568, and we closed yesterday at 556. This one was pretty exciting yesterday, at least for me. Bitcoin went up and actually right here touched above our all-time high. So it's an intraday high of 112,152. So far today, we're at 110,871. So again, we've been seeing this slow rise up. You can see the Bollinger Band has kind of rolled over on this resistance. We need to really get a breakout above the all-time high, where it closed above it, not just intraday, to keep this party going on Bitcoin. But it seems a lot of interest. I read a couple articles this morning on a lot of this drive is with companies now buying and putting it in their treasuries, along with the IBIT and the other ETFs that continue to see money pouring into those ETFs to buy Bitcoin. So, and along with that, MicroStrategy, so proxy, about 1.5 times. You can see our intermediate resistance level has moved up. This is the second time in about 5 days that this is being pushed up, and you can see why. You can see the price of strategy has been moving up in an upward trend. It's above the 9, it's above the 20, it's above the 50, and all the moving averages are moving from the bottom left to upward right. That's a good trend. We're seeing a little separation on the MACD too. So again, with MicroStrategy, it's a Bitcoin treasury company. All their treasury, they issue debt at a small amount, 0% to 1%, and then they take that money and they go out and they buy Bitcoin, which in the theory, in actual fact, has been going up on average 60% a year. So that's their strategy, and that's what they do, and it follows Bitcoin. We look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA, has a nice run going right up along the upper Bollinger and in between the support at the 9. We've been watching this week, and this has been a big driver in what we've seen in markets because NVIDIA is a big part of the NASDAQ and the S&P. Again, you got some sell orders right up at the Bollinger Band, 166.12, but that's a nice run, and we'll see what happens today. But a good run for swing trades or investors because we are above the 200 also. Got a nice crossover of the 50 over the 200, and all the moving averages are moving from bottom left to top right, which is always a good sign. Meta's come up, and it's kind of looks like the S&P and NASDAQ chart. It's come up, hit resistance. We've been going sideways. We do have the Bollinger Bands diverging a little bit, but again, we got this 9 coming up and price actions, between the 9 at support and the resistance, and we'll see if it can pop out. Seeing a little bit of an upturn on the slow stochastic, but the MACD is still in negative territory on Meta. Google or Microsoft. Microsoft has come right up, and this was really a nice run for Microsoft between support and resistance. Upper Bollinger. Yeah, I like these nice slow runs up. Again, you see all the moving averages moving bottom left, top right. Going to open up right, again, right about where we closed. You see it keeps touching the upper Bollinger Band and coming back down. So this is giving you opportunities to buy in, towards support, and, it comes back up and bounces out, up in the Bollinger Band. And that's where we're going to see some sell orders at about 509.58 on Microsoft. But that's still a nice run. Google has come above the 200. Again, we've been playing this game on the 200 for a while. Above, below, above, below, above. It just doesn't know which way to go. We kind of closed right at the 9 yesterday. Same thing. Bollinger Bands are kind of going sideways, okay, between support and resistance. Again, got some ways to go to the intermediate resistance level, but we still got this kind of sideways, but we're above the 200, and we've had 2 hits off the 200. That's a good sign down there, in the 20 for support on Google. But you see the stochastics move to the negative side, and we're also seeing the MACD. So I'd expect that to kind of go sideways again. But you had a nice wick up, wick down, kind of closed in the middle, but above the 9. Apple's come up, done this little deal right up to where we have sell orders, okay, outside of the Bollinger Band. We were 1, 2, 3, and then back inside, and then we kind of went on this sideways pattern, but we're hitting support at the 9. So again, we see this a lot, comes up, consolidates, and then keeps moving up. But I'm looking down at the stochastic. It's kind of going to the negative side, and we're seeing a little bit of a flattening of the MACD, which is, because we have this sideways movement, but we're still within support and resistance on Apple. Amazon up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times right on the intermediate resistance level. That's allowed this 9 to come up. It's getting closer, squeezing price in between support and resistance. We do have a golden crossover here on the 9 over the 200. We're over the 200, which is good. But again, resistance, we need to get past that in a significant way. We could see it pop up to sell orders and then back down. But again, we need something to pop it up. And it just we haven't seen it yet. Palantir, again, we just kind of been sideways. It's gone down under. Now we've come back up over the 9. Again, we're starting to see down here, we've had stochastic went positive, and that's usually a sign you're going to see the MACD, which is what's happening. But we'll see if we can get above resistance here. We got really narrow Bollinger Bands. So again, sideways movement, narrow Bollinger Bands. Need something to pop this up over that resistance in a meaningful manner. And then right above that, if sell orders at 149.02. We'll go look at some of those on under the 200 that we're still in, and BBWI. When you look at that, this is where our cost basis. It's come up. This one's done really well, staying above the 200. So we want it to run. If you're in this at a good position, you have a good profit now. We're up 28.7% on this. I mean, to save that profit, I go back and look, okay, it can come down and touch below the 200 and come back up. You could put a sell limit right above support here if you wanted to, in case it came down and kept rolling. That would give you a pretty good profit. You can go back where you see, I do that a lot, where you see big long candle, and put it back down there. It just depends, but you still have some upside to this, but again, you want to maintain as much profit. So always have your either a sell limit or a stop on the bottom side here, just to keep your profits. But right now it hasn't triggered anything. IDZ is another one. We only have a few in this. Come on, IDZ. And this one, kind of got above, did that sideways back inside the Bollinger Band, and then started its run back up again. So pretty good run on this. We're up almost 8%. And again, if you wanted, you could put a stop or a sell limit, down here at the 200 or a little bit below, or you could put it, between the 9 and the 200 in case it popped down. But right now, you got positive momentum. Seller is right above. It's following the Bollinger Band. So IBZ still, still a go on the list. And then EPAM, put it on, and it's just been kind of going sideways. It's been interesting that it's following right along where cost basis is, and if you wanted, you could put a stop in there and save a little of your profits. But again, it came down. I would have put it a little bit under the 9, but it came down, didn't hit the 9. So let's stay in this one for a little bit and see what happens. But it's sideways, and we're starting to see a roll in the Bollinger Band. So wouldn't hurt to get out of this one with a little bit of profit and just move on, because it's kind of sliding sideways for the last 4 days. So we may do that today. A couple others that you may want to look at. Alexander Real Estate. It's under the 200, but it's one of these that looks like one of those slow runners. You've got moving averages, the 9 and the 20 moving up, and it's just kind of going slowly between support and resistance. And these are the kind I like. You got some sellers above that, but these just kind of move until it doesn't. Maybe something you're interested in as a play. COO, we looked at this yesterday. Again, this looks the same as what we just looked at. You're going to have some resistance at this 50. You can see we've had it back here again. So maybe not the best time to get in if you believe 50 is going to be a big part of resistance like we have had before. Or you can take the chance that it's going to run. You see the Bollingers are diverting, and you have a pretty good MACD going here too on Mr. Cooper. And then CHDN. This is Churchill Downs, another kind of slow runner from bottom to top. Again, you kind of like these because you just get in them and they just kind of run. Again, nothing too fancy on this one, just kind of slow and up to the right. Watch your sell orders and watch where your support and resistance are. Keep a look on your oscillators. And TROW. This one really kind of took off. I don't like buying along the Bollinger Band, but you get some opportunities here. You see this run up again outside of the Bollinger, couple in, and then taking off again. So again, if you get in below the Bollinger Band and keep the momentum up and to the right, it has some room to run. You got some sell orders, and then you've got the 200 right there. But it's been a nice run under the 200. On our watch list, we have a few left in there. Textron. Right here's our cost basis. It kind of went sideways for a while, still above the 9. Everything's moving up and to the right except for the 200, but we are above the 200. You do have some sell orders right above, right about where the Bollinger Band is. This is a nothing line, so I'm going to remove that. And then resistance up to the top. But this is another one of those that got above the 200 and just kind of nice slow roll up. We're still in it at this point. You may want to put in, we're getting close to Friday, a sell limit down just below support at the 9. Keep your profits if you want. You can put it in, if you wanted right above where your cost base is in, just in case it did wake down and it keeps going up. But right now you're in the profits. So you might as well keep it by using stops or sell limits. J, we looked at yesterday. J keeps rolling right along the upper Bollinger. And this one, again, goes up outside the Bollinger, comes back in, and then starts moving up. You had a nice wick here. It came down, didn't quite come down to cost basis. Cost basis is now right at the support of the 9. So this will be nice to keep going up and to the right. But again, watch out. We have resistance at 135.78. We closed at 134.20. So if it gets up and hits that, I'm definitely out on J. PSTG. Again, another one, cost basis kind of went sideways on us and then back up. It's got some momentum going, and it's got, the MACD is starting to separate a little bit. Again, we're above the 200. It came down, tested again twice, and then bounced back up. You do have sell orders right above, so just be aware of that. PSTG. And then an ANET, ANET, was one we kind of got in back at this point because it was just sideways, and it got right in here, a touchdown right here. Got a nice candle up. And still, you like these Bollinger Bands. You like seeing everything going from bottom left to the upper right, 20, the 9, the 50. Same thing above the 200. watch out for sell orders above. Again, put limits down here to save your profits. This thing pops down, definitely I'm going to get out. Some others that we have that you may be interested in that I saw today. LVS, of course, it's Las Vegas Sands. It took off after going above the 9 or above the 200. Again, it's right up on the Bollinger Band. Just be careful. This is what we talked about a little bit yesterday. On popped above the 200. It was sideways, popped above, came back, retested. So on may be trying to make a run up. Watch out for your sell orders. Watch your oscillators here. But again, we're above the 200. So be careful. But, these are good signs that we're starting to see a lot more of these over the 200. Boeing had some good news come out. Boeing took off sell orders. This is running on momentum now. So be careful. And momentum, that doesn't show resistance. You do have sell orders. I don't like buying outside the Bollinger Band. If it came back in, you're interested with Boeing, you want to get it back, more towards support, but Boeing seems to be taking off a little bit today. AES, something must have come out because it popped it up above the 200. So this is something I'd watch and see if we're going to retest that 200 and continue to go. You're way outside the Bollinger Band and you have a big gap here, but something to look at if you're interested in that. Jets, this is the ETF for airlines. It's had a nice run above the 200. You watch it. 200 sideways. So we'll see if it runs up a little bit. I think Delta had a good conference call or something today, and that'll probably push Jets up a little bit too. We'll see how that goes. And a few other things. AEHR we talked about yesterday had earnings. And again, for swing traders, I like to get out before earnings. Negative 10 cents per share, had a nice run up. I like to get out, and you see what happened. It popped down, came back up, and stopped right on a resistance level. Oscillators are turning down here. We'll see if it can recover, but that's a pretty good gap there, and we'll see what happens with AEHR. UNH, even though we had bad news on UNH yesterday, I was surprised at the chart. I was expecting to see the price action, below finally this support level, but it didn't. It kind of wicked down, came back up. So we're still running right along this support. That's been a pretty good line of support. So it's still. These Bollingers are close. You see the 50 coming down. We got the 9 down here. We got the 20 down here. It's going to be interesting to see. But again, keep it on your list. If it ever does move up, it's got a pretty good run to go up until you hit resistance and the 200. And then BRKB, still right along the Bollinger Band, but we're seeing a pullback up. And we'll see. We had a death cross really of the 9 over the 200. Still not panicky yet. I think we can see this come back up if the markets recover. Again, Paul Tudor Jones, and basically you get out at this line and you get in at this line, depending on where it's going. But I'm a long-term holder in Berkshire, and I do swing trade it too. And then a couple others right at the 200 that I'm watching. Union Pacific, if you're an investor, we're not quite there yet. We're sideways along the 200, but if this starts running up, that might be a good time to hop in. You're above the 200, you got above the 9. So there's a lot of stuff out there to look at. And I think that's it. Trent, back to you. And Trent is now cold. He's got his hooded sweatshirt on because his refrigerant's back on.
Yeah, so we got AC, we got hot water, and I got $8,000 in expenses. So that's how you come back from a great 3-week trip out west. Anyhow, I'm going to take a little different approach today. We're going to look at some things from an economic standpoint. This is the whole conversation talk about today is about consumer spending and velocity of money, and the divergence that we're seeing of the economy or the economic economy and the stock market. And so this is the consumer price index, includes all US cities on average. And this goes back to 1950. For those who were alive then, you've experienced a lot when it comes to basically inflation. And presently they have us as of May at 2.37% inflation rate. back in July of 22, we were at 8.9% inflation rate. Now, this is government's numbers. This is not real people going to the grocery store or going to buy autos or cars numbers. So take that into account. But um, this is interesting to me because I sort of wanted to look at this from a perspective of inflation rises based on supply demand in a sense. So if there is less supply and more demand, companies can ask more money for their products and services. And since 22, we've seen inflation, according to the government, drop. And so does my question is, does that mean that there is less demand in the system, demand for products and services since what, the last 3 years? And so it got me to looking at, okay, well, I wish this thing would move. Here we go. Let's see. This is the unemployment rate in the United States as of May of this year. The darker numbers are the higher unemployment levels. And this is government numbers, and lighter colors are lower unemployment numbers. So if you live where I live in Panama, near Panama City, Florida, you're at roughly 3.7 if I can get it to show up. But if you're in California, you guys are milking the cow, from my point of view. There's a lot of unemployment in Riverside, California. I don't know what that consists of, but you're seeing the left west coast of the United States on a more unemployment rate level. I was listening to an interview with Steph Pomboy about student loan debt. Student loan debt as of the end of the quarter is up around $1.7 trillion. And many of us may know of people who have student loan debt, but over the last, I would say, 30, 40 years, we've been convinced that you need to get a college education, you need to take out loans to get it, and it's well worth it. You're going to get paid back. Well, I think that is coming to a halt or a problem because now government is now reporting student loan delinquencies. There are now repercussions for not paying it back, shows up on your credit report, but it also can come down to garnishing wages. So, how does that affect inflation rates? How does that affect the velocity of money? This is a big number. 1.7 trillion is probably a little bit more than that because this is the fourth quarter of 24. We'll see an update August 7th of this number. But I know personally, I have my children have student loans. One of them is on the verge of paying them off because she got created a career that pays well. But a lot of people can't pay these off because they're so large, which means they're going to not buy homes. That means they're not going to buy goods and services. That means they're not going to buy a new car because of this debt burden and because they're littered with debt burden. How does this affect our housing market for new home buyers? How does this affect new car purchases for those in their 20s and 30s and 40s and so on? And so that to me brings where is the velocity of money in the last 5 years? And as we can see, this is the velocity of money is the exchanging of a dollar for a purchase of services or goods. Okay, so if you go back to third quarter of 2020, you saw the velocity. I'll just even go back a little bit more. You saw the velocity of money drop in first quarter of 2020. That was the pandemic. It hit a low in second quarter, and then we all got flush with money. And so the velocity of money started to increase. We saw more participation in the stock market. We saw more purchasing of goods and services. Interest rates went really low. Housing took off. I know my house, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, was worth about $200,000 more than it is worth today. So that influx of money, low interest rates, really got the velocity of money going higher. And then we saw that in the stock market up until really the first of this year. And then it took off. We're into this, and then as of the third quarter of 2023, we saw the velocity of money begin to slow. And so if you think about the stock market, what was pushing the stock market higher? Seven companies, the Mag 7. That's what pushed the S&P 500 higher. That's what pushed the Nasdaq higher. Everything else in those indexes really lagged if you think about it. And then since then, the velocity of money has slowly dropped. This is as of the first quarter of 2025. So that brings me to the question of where we are at entering the third quarter of 2025. Is the velocity of money going to slow? Is the level of consumer debt where it's at a super high, going to strain the purchasing of goods and services? And I think, AEHR came out with earnings. They missed on revenue by 15%. Their earnings per share were down, but they came back with guidance because they're diversifying their business. This is a company who tests the wafers of these semiconductors to make sure they're actually working. If they are slowing, does that mean the semiconductor world is slowing? Does that mean tech is slowing? What has driven this market for the last 3 years really has been XLK or yeah, XLK, I believe that's the tech index ETF. It's been the NASDAQ, it's been the Mag 7. That is what's driven this market. I look at companies like Berkshire, whose stock price is falling, is dropped below the 200. What does that mean? And I think what is happening, and slowly happening, very slowly, is that the stock market has done this, and the economy is doing this. So they're diverting. At some point, the stock market, I think, may just start to roll over or at least stagnate, because from the economic data I'm seeing, it's showing strains on the consumer, and that's what drives the United States economy. It shows strains on the global economy. And I think these things like tariffs, fiscal policy out of the Fed, and their digging of their heels in the ground on raising or lowering rates, and a couple of these other elements that we have to take this in account. And this is where I look at this and I go, we have to be aware of where we are within the economy, but also within the stock market. And what I'm seeing is, something similar from the standpoint on the charts, something similar to where we were in, say, 2009, 2010 in the stock market, where it eventually started to move higher in comparison to where we are today. But I believe the economic data is still trying to catch up to the stock market. And so my whole point is watch the velocity of money, watch the consumer and the strain and delinquency rates on their household incomes and spending, because at some point this has to zero out, it has to equal out. And right now, what used to save us, and that was the Fed lowering rates, it seems like that's not going to happen. And to me, if that doesn't happen, that doesn't put more energy or more juice in the system. At some point, this is going to come to an head. So, um, but today, stock market's moving higher. And I think that's, markets will do what they do, but be aware at some point, data will eventually come to the surface that will disrupt things. We saw it during the dot-com bubble. We saw it during the housing crisis. Something's going to break at some point. These levels are crazy. So that's my soapbox speech today, a little different than usual. Keep in mind, risk management is the key.
So I've been reviewing The Great Beautiful Bill, And do you know if you go out and buy a private jet, it's 100% deductible as long as you're using it for business or you're leasing it out. 100% in the first year.
How many are you going to buy, Bob?
Not for me. But you can buy net jets. You can buy a net jet and be a portion owner and have that write-off. Also, if you buy a vehicle, it's all deductible up to $12,500 in the first year, as long as you're using it for
Is that for a business or a consumer
consumer
or
to
retail?
and
Consumer
as far as
too.
the vehicles, yeah, up to 12,500 on a business. It's all
Does it have
complete
does it
write-off.
have to be new, or is it
It
can be
has to be
used?
American. It doesn't have to be new. It can be used.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is what's going to stimulate the economy because people always need cars, and knowing that you go buy a $20,000 car and you can write it off in the first year or 50% of it is a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
David
Does that go in effect?
David used to be in the car
2025.
business.
It's
Would
effective.
that have helped you out, David? You were in the
I'm
car
just
business.
waiting to be able to chime in here because Bob.
I can see you rocking.
Oh yeah, baby, I'm rocking because I am totally in Bob's camp. I believe that this economy hasn't seen a stimulus like this in 20 years.
It's going to take 6 months, David.
It's going to take a while to get started, but you've got trillions, I mean, trillions of
Huge.
dollars being reinvested in this country in manufacturing. We lost 90,000 manufacturing facilities over the last 30 years. And they're now giving them 100% tax break to start back up.
All the equipment, like equipment I bought this year, is all write off. Everything, 100%.
Year one.
They're talking right now, GDP could hit 3% this year. Think about that. We
Okay,
haven't had GDP over 1.5 since Trump's first half of his term. Our economy is going to see growth like it hasn't seen in a long time. So all the numbers that we've been using on all these charts, you can throw them out the window.
Okay, wait a second.
It's a
Wait a
whole
second.
new ballgame.
How does this change the consumer who is maxed out on debt? How does this bill change that?
Well, you've got a lot more people going to come.
You can't help that, right? That's going to run its
Okay.
course. It is how it's going to change that. It's going to create jobs. Yes, automation is going to take effect because now that's also going to allow me to buy robots, and that is 100% a write-off also.
So
Okay.
if you buy robots, will you be laying people off then, Bob?
Well, what do you think?
Well, I know the answer, but I want you to say it, not me.
Well, the other thing, the number that I think is going to be really interesting that we're going to watch in the future is going to be weekly jobs added. We're used to seeing 50, 70, 90,000 jobs created. You're going to start seeing 300, 400, 500,000 jobs.
We don't have the people for that, David.
That's the point. I mean, you're good,
Right.
but there's
We
a
don't have
lot
the
of
people
people
for
out
that.
there that well,
Nor do we have, David.
if you
we do
need
not
employees,
we do not
Bob,
have
you're
the
going to
skill
find them.
sets. We don't have the skill sets.
They'll bring them in.
Non-existent. We're a service industry. All these skill sets, you have to train everybody, and there's a lot of work to be done to get
So
people.
then this is robotics.
Hey, Bob, there's
Not
a
even
question.
robotics, even
There's a
working in
question.
manufacturing. You got to train these people. Once you have these people, you can't let them go.
Bob, you have a question. What is the criteria for an American car? Does a Toyota built in the USA count?
USA has to be built, and the parts have to be from the USA.
Okay.
In other words, you can't have BMW ship them into South Carolina, which North Carolina is the state, according to CNBC, is the state to do business in this year.
That's what I
But
saw.
besides that, you can't ship parts in from overseas. I think Ford got a mulligan for a period of time and Chevy, but BMW can't ship the parts into North Carolina or South Carolina, wherever they build it, or Alabama, wherever they're
South
building.
Carolina, yep.
Yeah. They can't ship the parts in there and assemble it here and call it American. It has to be American made.
So
Yep.
I have to buy a GMC, Chevrolet, Ford to
Yep.
get that.
Yep.
Okay.
Or Tesla. Teslas are all made here.
I won't buy
Even
a
the
Tesla.
batteries? Are the batteries made here?
They're all made here. Yeah.
Hmm.
There's a factory, it's a gigafactory in Las Vegas.
Did you see MP exploded today? MP is the only miner that produces the minerals for batteries. They signed a major contract with the US government to expand their operations.
I hope that MP, because MP is located in California, and the problem, and I did a lot of study on
It's
MP.
Vegas, isn't it?
The problem with what's that?
It's Vegas.
No, it's in California is where MP is, where the mines are.
Not far.
And they have a lot of regula environmental regulations from California that they're really struggling with.
Well, all I know is I couldn't sleep this morning. I got up at 6 o'clock. I saw that alert hit. I got MP at $35 and it is now $50 and we're up 65%.
Good for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
A
Well,
fun
and so
morning.
Bob, going back to this bill, what else are you seeing in it that, and I guess you're
So,
a business owner, you're a manufacturer, okay? So you're seeing it from a point of view of I can go write off goods and services, I can go buy equipment, that kind of thing. Where does this affect Joe Schmo, just the consumer, works for the man kind of person? How does this affect them?
well, it's going to allow them to go out and buy a vehicle and be able to write it off. They're not going to be able to lease it because you get you don't own it, right? The bank owns the car.
Right.
As long as you're buying a car and you finance it, that you're buying it, you get to write that off. That's a huge amount of money. Also, I haven't gotten into the details yet, but if you buy a house, okay, for a business, right, that you're flipping houses or whatever you're doing, there's a 20 to 30% tax deduction on that. It's huge. Okay.
On
So
on the flip?
on the purchase of it. Okay.
Okay.
On the purchase, when you purchase it, your business, okay, LLC or whatever, can write off. It depends on the dollar amount. Can write off 20 to 30% of that purchase price. Yeah.
So Bob, on the other side, we still have this tariff issues. Are you still seeing increased prices or
Oh
supply
yeah,
shortages?
it's not stopping. It's getting worse and worse.
Okay.
It's almost like everybody's numb to it. I'm not numb to it. I'm very focused on it, but I'm seeing some weird things. Like all of a sudden, we're seeing some orders come in. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just like okay, which which is my next conversation is everybody should start looking at industrials because it's not going to happen today or tomorrow, but it's going to happen within the next 6 months. You're going to see those things start to climb. Can you pull up their charts on
Yep.
industrial?
Yep. Got it
Um,
right.
and of
Got it
course,
right
my
here.
favorite one. Let's see what Fastenal is doing. I haven't looked at it. XLE.
Oh yeah.
Look
Here's
at
the
that.
this is
Look
the
at
S and
that.
sector. Yep. It's a nice
Everybody's
chart.
starting to buy in. The big guys are starting to buy into it already. Okay, because industrials, Ford, Chevy, okay, um,
You're not gonna like this, Bob.
appliances, Caterpillar, that's going to be big, okay? Because all these factories and buildings are going to be putting up. You're going to need excavators and bulldozers and equipment, right? So industrials are going to take off also.
There's
There
cat.
that. Okay.
This is a 12-month outlook kind of viewpoint on this. As this bill rolls out and becomes awareness becomes of it, you're going to see people looking at going, oh, hey, I can take advantage of this.
Exactly. Bingo. What is
Okay.
that? 1 hour?
That's 3M here.
3M. Yeah. So, and that's safety. Okay. 3M is safety. They're going to need safety products for the warehouses and the manufacturing, all that stuff, right? So industrials is a place to start planting some dollars.
If you look at
I like industrials too, because this was a nice run up at GE here. Look at that.
if you look at STRL,
STRL.
Sterling Infrastructure Inc. I've just got a list of them because Bob brought these up about 3 months ago. And you're seeing just this natural floating upward progression higher.
What I'm
So
seeing
this,
too, Trent, I know you have too, is this more companies are crossing that 200 now,
yeah,
and it's all back around, you know, after the Liberation Day dip, you started seeing it come back up.
Yeah, you're starting to see a shift. We're seeing the shift. So um it's
and you
not going to explode right away. You got 6 months down the road. Okay, we're going to go through another earnings cycle. But I think you're going to start to see it in this next earnings cycle that will come up. I found interesting today that Delta was reporting lack of um, lack of customers or fulfillment of their seats. And I noticed that also on United because I fly United, that I'm gonna be able to buy first class seats to head to Florida, um, low 200s, like $119. I mean,
no way.
$219 a seat.
Really.
Yeah. So they're having trouble filling their seats. Um, but anyway,
And that kind of goes back to the general, like Trent was talking about, the general economy and people who are stretched out on their credit to, the end of their line,
they're hunkering down.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Look at
no one understands the bill is really not out yet. You have to do homework to get through it and find the things because the amendments. So you have the bill and then you have amendments to the bill that were negotiated after the bill. And you have to go back and forth between it's over 800 pages. And you have to go back and forth under each subject and you have to look at what was originally proposed and then what would the amendment. The amendments are when the person of that, the congressperson or senator of that state renegotiated for them to pass the bill.
so if we go out and look at this bill, Bob,
look
do
at
we
Ford.
look at yeah.
I mean, Ford hasn't been
So-
above the 200 forever, and then it finally it's over. I mean, last time it tried to touch it,
Because
okay.
people like me are going out to buy their trucks and vans and everything. When I mean, I'm not going to buy a Ford car, but I will buy a Ford van, you know?
Yeah. And when you go look at this bill, Bob, for the people on the call, do they focus on the amendments because that's the final decision,
No,
or do
you
you
have
look
to
at it?
start at the beginning and then you have to,
Okay.
it'll tell you if there's an amendment.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see, let me go to my Slack here a second.
That's interesting because like in the next 6 months, I'd like to buy a new car. And if I can get a 50% or what, $12,000 write-off, if I run it through my business, I get 100% write-off on it. Um, I'll go. I mean, we've talked about buying another Tahoe. We have a Toyota truck. It's nice, but we like the big SUV thing. And we had a Tahoe. We liked it. Now there's more incentive for me to go buy buy that Tahoe.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a must do.
Even if I did it as a consumer to write off what you said, 12,000 or so dollars.
Yeah, as a
Um,
consumer, $12,500, I think it is.
yeah. I mean, that's a big bump. So when you say write off, just for people who may not understand, if I'm a consumer, I get 12,500 write off. If I make, say, $100,000, that 12,500 takes right off the top, and then I'm taxed on the rest.
12,500 comes off the bottom of your taxes.
Okay, so if I owe, say, ten
After
thousand
adjust,
dollars,
after adjusted, I believe.
I mean, it would bring
okay,
bring your adjusted gross income down for sure by
Yeah,
12,500.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then you're
Huh.
taxed on the balance.
this is not tax advice. Definitely reach out to a CPA, but I think this gives you an idea how powerful this can be for the consumer. I mean,
But we
yeah,
still need
wow.
interest rates to come down for housing and such too, you know. We haven't seen that yet for the
Yeah.
most
Well, I
part.
think that's coming, right? I think that's in the sauce already.
Yeah,
There's
we'll
been
see.
some reports about um, giving Powell the boot, um, because they're aligning the guy who's going to take over. And I think once they align that and the stock market receives it and doesn't have an issue with it, they're going to give Powell the boot.
Do you think it'll be Besant?
No,
Who do you think will replace him?
this other guy, I forget his name.
Waller?
Huh?
Waller?
No, Warley's out. I think it's
Hillary?
Hillary.
Hillary. Oh,
You're gonna bring
yeah,
Greenspan
you're a
back.
Democrat.
I'm kidding. I'm just joking.
I want Yellen back. She was really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not coming back to this channel.
These are jokes. Bill started the joke off, or Bill and I started the joking off. So these are jokes. We're not.
Yeah. So anyway, it'll be interesting now. I mean, you're seeing, despite what you hear in the press and the financial press, and you know, we haven't seen the inflation that the Fed's been looking for from these tariffs yet. At least I haven't. Um, you know, and you're seeing within a short period of time, whether you like it or not, this administration's at least moving the dial, you know, in what it's doing.
You think? I think the shortcoming of people who consume news is that he hasn't been in office for a year yet. It's only been what, 6 months?
6 months,
Yeah.
6 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you tell me how do you turn a freighter? Slowly. That's what we're turning right now. So you know, I believe it when I see it, but this what Bob has shared. This is very hopeful. I mean, I'm like looking at, do I set up a business and have it buy my house? You know, that's the question. I'm like, would that be financially beneficial to me? So I don't
Well,
know.
you gotta do it within the law. I mean, there are
Oh
IRS
yeah, but I
rules
mean,
that say, okay, yeah. And I'm no
right.
accountant, but I do know that mine keeps me pretty tight in the black and not into the gray areas.
Yeah. Hey Patrick, what you got?
Hi. I just want to talk two stocks. QUBT, which is quantum computing, and Rigetti computing, RGTI. They're both strong buys, and they fulfill the criteria in that they have MACD crossover and RSI greater than 50. I'm just wondering, this might be a question for Mark. They're within the Bollinger Band range. I'm just wondering, is there any bandwidth for upside, because most of both of them, their target prices have been exceeded, or they're at their target price. I'm just wondering if there's any scope.
Are you looking at a long term or just a short term?
Short term.
Okay. Well, we had a pretty good run up. You can see back here, and then we came up, and what we're touching was where sell orders were, and then we've come back down to resistance and sell orders, and then we've had 3 days of down since then, right back to the resistance level. I look at the oscillators down here, Patrick, and they're turned down, of course, because you have 3 days down. I would wait on this from my point of view. I do like it's above the 200. I do like all these moving averages are moving bottom left to top right. Looks like it's consolidated a little bit. We'll see. The Bollingers are kind of moving in, consolidating a little bit, waiting for its next run. But if it gets below that 9, for sure, I wouldn't want to be in. But I'm going to see what happens with this resistance because you have an opportunity to go up. You've seen it go up twice. Here and here. Right to where the cells are at 21.97. What was the other one?
Rigetti, RGTI.
RGTI, and these are quantums. Okay.
These are another. Yeah.
Okay, hold on here. Oh, okay. This looks like almost the same. Let's go back a year and just see how this plays out. It's pretty strong level of resistance where we are right here. See 1, 2, 3 and 4 areas here. We did pop out when it initially got rolling. It really popped up and then dumped all the way back down to the 50. Came back up to resistance. Came back up to resistance, and now we're back up to resistance once again. If we look at the oscillators look pretty close to what the other one was. We got the stochastic kind of dipping down. That usually means you're going to see the MACD dip down. But again, you got a strong level of resistance right here to start buying in. You might want to see if that can break out before you get into that, from my point of view, from my trading plan, Patrick.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, I see Bill's got his hand up too. Bill, go ahead.
Got a situation back at the end of World War II. I think the General McCarthy from the Philippines was put in charge of Japan, and he made the entire country go like H by allowing 100% reduction in the first so many years. So therefore, I bought a machine. I can depreciate the whole machine in 1 year instead of dragging it out like we had for 20.
Correct.
In addition to that, Kennedy, when he was head president, he had some kind of a deal wherein that we could depreciate, and effectively I had a piece of machinery that I had bought that was paid for by this playground arrangement that he had, by allowing me to deduct and pay for that machine in the first year, and it also was deducted. In addition to that, I was getting orders at the end of the time and money for the entire order, so other people could claim this deduction that was available. So both of those things were really good. One for the United States, one for Japan, but that's the way it was.
Yep. Thanks, Bill. So is this all retroactive to January 1st, Bob?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but I do know it is showing 2025 tax returns.
Okay, so probably would be then, I'd
I
imagine.
would guess it would only make sense, but yeah.
Cool. Well, it's 8:30, Trent. I have some charts that people want to go over if you guys want to do a little bit of that.
But let's do about 5 more minutes if we can.
Okay. Let
And
me
knock
roll
it
up
out.
on that.
I've got a bell, guys. Have a great day.
All right.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks for the information, Bob. That was great.
Take care.
All right.
Mark,
Okay.
we expect to see you in the trading room today.
Okay. I'm actually home for a little bit, so I think I can do that for you. So yeah, I'm doing this is my big concert week, so I'm doing a lot of concerts, outdoor concerts, and it's just been keeping me pretty busy. And that goes through the weekend. Okay, here's AMPX. Someone was talking about, I put a little thing in the comments about this. This company doesn't make any money yet. Okay, so you got to worry about financing and if they go out and they have an offering and dilute the shareholders, kind of like EVTL did the other day. Had a nice run. It's outside the Bollinger Bands. Again, here you are. This is at the open, up, and you're going to see it zip back down. Let's go. We'll do what Mike likes to do and go to the 5-minute chart and just see what's happening here. Yeah, look at that. Okay. We'll see what happens and see if this rug pulls back in. Mike always likes to look at this and see it rug pull back down, like you see in these areas here on the 5-minute chart. I wish Mike was here. He could talk about it a little bit. The other ones. All right. So again, that it doesn't make any money. It's got a lot of momentum going right now. Again, outside the Bollinger Band, are you going to chase it at this point? That's really up to your risk strategy. I personally don't chase them like that. EVTL, this was a drone one that got hit by an offering. They came out and announced they're going to offer more stocks because they don't make any money either, so they need operating capital, and it dropped down. It's like 30% yesterday. So that can happen to these stocks that don't make much money, especially when they're under $10 kind of stocks. ETH, USD. Okay, this is Ethereum. Ethereum. Okay, look at Ethereum. Crypto had a good day yesterday. Oops. And next week is crypto week in the House of Representatives. They're going to do a lot of legislation on the crypto side. It's kind of interesting. You've kind of got a bit of a breakout here in above the 200. If we go back a little bit, a year, you can see we've been consolidating. Trent showed this before, sideways and really underneath the 200. And now we've got this break above the 200. You've got a lot of companies. You see the oscillators look pretty good too. You got a lot of companies out there. And Tom Lee is going to be the CEO of one of them. And they're going to go out and do what MicroStrategy did with treasuries in their corporate treasuries, except they're going to do it with Ethereum. So that might increase the price of Ethereum. Remember, Ethereum is not like Bitcoin in the sense that Bitcoin, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. Ethereum, they can continue to mine these to infinity if they wish, even though they do some burning off of those positions. GRAB, Grab Holdings. Let's look at the volume. Okay, that's a good volume. We're right up on resistance here. And you can see it's popped up to sell order. So you have that ability. Oscillators look pretty good, but again, you've been riding this resistance level. This was a nice run up on Grab. Try and go through as fast as I can. GRFS. Nice run up on GRFS. Let's see. Look at this. I mean, watch this volume right here as I move across. So you got 400,000, 402, 200,000, 191. And then all of a sudden yesterday, 3.2 million. Something really picked this up. And this is an ADR, so it's a foreign stock. Again, you're above resistance. You're right up on this on the sell order resistance level too on GRFS. And watch the volume because it really spiked up. And usually when that happens, you'll see it come back down. Not guaranteed, but it can. FRSH. Freshworks. This one's come up. Look at the volume. Volume's good. Right here on resistance. It's got to get past that. Bollinger Bands are coming back down. We've got some pretty good oscillators going, but because we've had this nice run up, made the oscillators go up. It's above the 200. You're above all the moving averages, and they're all moving up and to the right. That's good. It's just got to get past this resistance. It tried back here, came back down, and now it tried again several times. We'll see what happens. But I like to get them when they cross the 9 and start swinging up this way. Right now we're at the top of resistance, so I don't buy at that level. Some people do, and that's it. That's what I got, Trent. I think so. That was quick in 5 minutes.
All right, fantastic. We'll just wrap it up there. Thank you for participating today and being a part of it. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, right?
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And we'll see you next on Friday. And next Friday we will have Kerry's 3 o'clock call. So be looking for that invite, and we'll go from there. Have a great day. Thank you again, and we'll see you all later.
Hey guys. Thank
Jim.
you.
Live loud.
Oh.